Spider-Man and Deku are surprisingly similar when you stop to think about it, but between the two heroes, who would win in a fight? Both of these heroes bring a lot to the table in terms of power, abilities, and overall hero attitude. But what would happen if these two were pitted against each other in an ultimate battle of nerd versus nerd, Spider versus Green Rabbit, hero versus hero? Which of them would use their powers in a better way to come out triumphant over the other? And who has a bigger weakness? All that and more coming your way right now. Can you imagine what a conversation would be like between Deku and Peter Parker? And I'm talking about Tom Holland's awkward fanboy Peter Parker too, so you know both of them might just be stuttering messes. Deku would gush over how impressed he is with Spidey's suits that allows for expressive eyes, and then go off on a personal mutter spiral about how he needs to do the same thing with his suit because it would give him an 18% tactical advantage or something. While Peter would want to see Deku fling a baseball into space with just his finger, and then consider eating some of All Might's hair himself to see what happens. Point is, these guys probably would be good friends on any normal day. But today is not a day for friendship. Nay, it's a day for battle! Today's the day Deku and Spider-Man go toe-to-toe, mano-a-mano in an epic battle for superhero superiority. So now the big question is, who wins? Let's look at some base level stuff, meaning each hero's average strength level. Like if each character threw their hardest punch, who would punch a hole through the other person first? If we're judging by just that, then it's obviously Deku. His quirk, One for All, is an absolute powerhouse. Even by just using a small percentage of the ability, Deku could still probably punch through a person's stomach like it was a bowl of jello. And although a less powerful hit might not be enough to keep Spider-Man down, everything would change if Deku would be able to hit Spidey when he's using 100% of his strength. Then things are a little different. I know that Into the Spider-Verse really drove home the point about Spider-Man always getting up again, but clearly none of those guys were hit with the full might of One for All. Deku would hit Spider-Man so hard that Uncle Ben would feel it in his grave. And Spider-Man is no weakling either. Because he does so much amazing stuff and has a wide array of abilities, it's sometimes easy to forget that Spider-Man also has super strength. I'm not saying his punches would turn you into a paste like Deku's could, but I assume a Spider-Man punch is like getting hit by a garbage truck that just picked up one of those speed boost mushrooms in Mario Kart. So it would do a number on you. Like if Peter's strong enough to lift all the rubble off him in Homecoming, then his punches must feel like cinder blocks with jetpacks attached to them. But everyone knows strength isn't everything when it comes to a hero fight, and because of a multitude of other factors, Deku and Spider-Man are actually on pretty even footing. So what would these two gentlemen use to fight each other? Because it's not just going to be a straight up boxing match. No, they're going to use all the different abilities they have at their disposal in order to take the other one down. Spider-Man is strong, but one of his advantages is his speed and agility, which I guess means he can dodge and move at an extraordinary pace. But Deku is no slouch when it comes to speed either. Using his quirk, Deku can jet around like he's a rocket that's filled with sugar and caffeine. Especially now that Deku has embraced a more leg-focused fighting style, he's trained his bottom half to be even stronger, which means he's just going to keep getting faster. So when it comes to a foot race, Deku is definitely going to win. But speed isn't just how fast you can go. Speed also relates to how fast your body can react to an incoming attack. And I think that's where Spider-Man has an advantage. Let's have two scenarios. Say Deku has one foot stuck in wet cement, and then he's shot at. Is he fast enough to dodge the bullets while stuck in place? I'm honestly not sure. Say Spider-Man was in the same situation. The webhead is naturally fast enough to twist his body around to dodge the bullets even if his foot can't move. But that leads to another ability they both have, an analytical mind. One of Deku's best abilities doesn't come from All Might, but rather it's something he's developed on his own. It's his analytical and calculating mind. Deku is highly observant in every situation he's in. He's taken detailed notes on all of his classmates, his teachers, and every hero he encounters. He's also very observant of his surroundings. Take a look at the scene when he fights Night-Eye in the hero's office. He can't hit Night-Eye even with his super speed, but even though he's shooting around like a speeding rocket, he doesn't touch any of the All Might collectibles that are around him. So let's go back to the same situation about the wet cement. Even though Spider-Man is fast and agile enough to move around attacks while stuck in place, Deku most likely would have seen the wet cement and never landed in it in the first place. But really, does a super analytical mind beat out Spider Sense? No way, right? Spider-Man's spider sense is perhaps the most useful weapon in his arsenal. It can sense danger and help Peter use his amazing agility to avoid injury. So could Deku's incredible speed and strength still manage to hit Spider-Man? Maybe, but it's going to be difficult. What are some other cool things both heroes have? Well, Spider-Man's whole thing is that he's a web slinger. His webbing is one of his main weapons, and he uses it to swing around the city, to subdue his opponents, and to close J. Jonah Jameson's mouth when necessary. We've seen his webbing vary in strength over the years, but overall, it's a powerful adhesive. You know the feeling when you get gum in your hair? Yeah, this webbing would probably be much worse. And he can use his webbing as a projectile too if necessary, though he's not the only one. Deku has something equally as effective for long-range fighting, and that's his new nifty power, the air bullets. You see, in the latest season of My Hero, Deku realized that he needed to have some ranged powers to really make up for the fact that he's a close combat fighter. And then his mentor, All Might, helped him harness One for All to channel the energy to shoot air bullets out of his fingers. These are perhaps better than web projectiles because you can't really see these coming. Though, as mentioned, Spider-Man could use his spider sense to see where the air blast is coming from and dodge it if he's fast enough. And on the downside, Deku has to seriously try not to overexert himself when he's firing the air bullets, as well as any of his powers for that matter. Yes, I've talked about how Deku can reach insane levels of strength, and I have no doubt that in a few years' time, he'll have complete mastery over his quirk and become the greatest hero of all time. But for now, he's still figuring it out. Deku's body is still all fleshy and weak. He can only afford to exert small amounts of power, or else literally everything within him will break. If he's not careful, he can make his body look like one of those bananas that's been left out for a few weeks. That's why I think Spider-Man has the slight advantage here. Yes, Deku can reach levels where he's much more powerful, but if he isn't careful, this could hurt Deku more than it would hurt Spider-Man. Though Spider-Man isn't without fault either. Even though Spider-Man can't hurt his body like Deku can, he can still run out of juice, and by juice I mean web fluid. Spidey's web is finite because unless Deku is fighting Tobey Maguire, and I mean as the Spider-Man character and not just actually Tobey Maguire, then Spider-Man has the chance to run out of web fluid. He can only carry so much web fluid on him at one time, so if he runs out, he's kind of in trouble. And trust me, he's run out quite a bit, which seems to say that Spidey sometimes isn't the best when it comes to web management. If Deku can avoid Spider-Man until the webhead has used up all of his web, then he wouldn't even have to worry about overexerting himself. But I don't think Deku could stay calm enough in order to stay in complete control of his emotions for a long period of time. Spider-Man has been known to use quips and humor to keep his enemies off balance and agitated. At least that's true for other live-action Spider-Man. Tom Holland's Spider-Man seems like an excited puppy most of the time, whose quips come more from amazement than strategy. But then again, in Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man is hilarious in the scene when he's trying to stop the criminals who are dressed as the Avengers. So I think there's still hope for this Spider-Man to use his quips as a more strategic tool in the future. And if that's the case, then I could see a situation where Spider-Man rattles Deku enough for Deku to overexert his body to try to stop Spider-Man. And if that's the case, then I could see a situation where Spider-Man rattles Deku enough for Deku to overexert his body to try to stop Spider-Man with one hit, only to miss and then be useless for the rest of the fight. But will Deku continue to be too emotional in battle? He's surrounded by great heroes after all. His mentor is All Might, the greatest hero ever, and although All Might is now permanently stuck looking like a starving mannequin, he can still offer great advice to Deku, and that goes for all the people in Deku's life. His classmates are usually close by and have taught Deku so many different things about being a hero. And that says nothing about all the heroes that are teaching Deku at UA. Even though Deku may be inexperienced in his fight and could let the emotions get the better of him, maybe his support system will be enough to get Deku through any challenge. Because what support system does Spider-Man have? In all the versions of Spidey that we've seen, Peter is mostly self-taught and has had to go out and learn how to fight criminals himself. But I actually think this would be an advantage for Spider-Man. Sure, Deku has experience fighting villains, but he's just now transitioning into fighting straight-up criminals. Spider-Man has been at it for a while. Deku is still in his beginning phase, and it's that street experience that Spider-Man had to learn all by himself that really gives Spidey the advantage in an actual fight. So overall, if you take all these considerations into account, run the algorithms, crunch the numbers, I would give Spider-Man the victory here. Though I will say again that this is only because Deku is still learning. Once he finishes his training, then I don't think there would be any hero that could take him down. Who do you think would win in a fight? Let us know in the comments below if you think Spider-Man would ultimately win or if Deku would pull out a victory. And be sure to hit that subscribe button for more awesome CBR content. Thanks for watching, and stay away from radioactive spiders, okay?